The Black Death, or as I like to call it, nature's way of saying, sorry, no refunds. This plague, caused by the uninvited guest Yersinia pestis, was the ultimate party crasher of the 14th century. Imagine receiving an invitation to the hottest event in town, only to find out Death himself RSVP'd with a +1. And that +1 was a bacteria with a serious grudge against humanity. Talk about gatecrashing at its finest. It had a whole menu of options too: bubonic, pneumonic, and septicemic, like some sort of twisted disease buffet. If medieval Europe had Yelp reviews, this one would have gotten a solid 1 star. Terrible ambience, dreadful service, would not recommend. But hey, at least it brought communities closer together, in fear and desperation. Ah, the good old days when quarantine wasn't just a word for introverts. In the end, the Black Death taught us valuable lessons. Wash your hands, cover your mouth when you cough, and maybe invest in some rat traps, because nothing ruins a party quite like a pandemic. The Spanish flu, also known as the "Oh no, not again" of 1918, was like the world's worst game of tag. Except instead of tagging friends, it tagged everyone with fever, cough, and a general feeling of, I didn't sign up for this. Caused by the H1N1 influenza A virus, this flu spread faster than rumors in a small town, infecting more people than your average cat video on the internet. It's estimated that the Spanish flu resulted in the deaths of at least 50 million people worldwide, with some estimates suggesting a death toll as high as 100 million. And it wasn't picky either. It targeted young, healthy adults like a flu-seeking missile, proving that even the fittest among us aren't safe from a runny nose and a bad case of the chills. With a death toll that could rival the number of plot twists in a soap opera, the Spanish flu left behind a legacy of empty tissue boxes, cancelled plans, and a newfound appreciation for hand sanitizer. Forget about Netflix and chill. It was more like Netflix and pray I don't catch the flu. But hey, at least it gave us some valuable lessons. Cover your mouth when you sneeze, wash your hands like you're scrubbing in for surgery, and maybe invest in a hazmat suit for flu season. Because when it comes to infectious diseases, it's better to be safe than sorry, or in this case, feverish and bedridden. The HIV/AIDS epidemic, the ultimate health challenge that crashed the late 20th century party and decided to stick around longer than anyone expected. Talk about an unwelcome guest. Human immunodeficiency virus, HIV, the sneaky culprit behind AIDS, has been throwing quite the bash, infecting around 75 million people and leaving over 32 million folks to rue the day they ever received that invitation. It's like the virus took inspiration from a horror movie marathon, except this time it's real life and there's no turning off the TV. Sub-Saharan Africa got hit the hardest, like the epicenter of a dance floor earthquake, with new infections and casualties piling up like empty pizza boxes at a sleepover. And let's not forget the VIP section. Marginalized communities like men who have sex with men, people who inject drugs, sex workers, and transgender individuals have been dealing with the virus like a bad joke that just won't quit. But hey, it's not all doom and gloom. We've made some serious progress in the battle against HIV/AIDS, thanks to treatments, condoms, not just for water balloons anymore, needle exchange programs, and education campaigns that finally gave ignorance the boot. Still, the fight's not over yet, because when it comes to viruses, there's no such thing as fashionably late. The Cocoliztli Epidemic, when Mother Nature decided to throw a curveball at the early settlers in Mexico, leaving them scratching their heads like a group of confused tourists in a foreign land. Was it a viral hemorrhagic fever? A case of Salmonella cerevisiae typhi gone wild? Who knows? It's like trying to solve a mystery with more plot twists than a telenovela. Regardless of the culprit, the outcome was as grim as a horror movie marathon, with up to 80% of the indigenous population biting the dust. Talk about a population decline steeper than a roller coaster drop. Historical accounts paint a picture so bleak, you'd think you stumbled into a Shakespearean tragedy. Entire communities wiped out, leaving behind nothing but echoes of despair. And let's not forget the chaos that ensued. Social upheaval, economic collapse, and cultural trauma, oh my. The Spanish colonial authorities were as clueless as a lost puppy, struggling to handle the crisis like a bull in a china shop. The aftermath? A demographic and cultural landscape reshaped forever, like a Picasso painting after a toddler gets hold of it. The Cocoliztli Epidemic, a chilling reminder that sometimes history is stranger than fiction. The Third Plague Pandemic, the world tour nobody asked for, featuring bubonic plague as the headliner and devastation as the opening act. Originating in Yunnan, China, in the 1850s, this pandemic spread faster than rumors in a high school cafeteria, thanks to steamships and railways making international travel as easy as ordering takeout. Talk about an unwanted package delivery service. It hit more ports than a sailor on shore leave, causing panic and chaos everywhere it docked. India got hit particularly hard. Imagine trying to count all those lives lost in Bombay, now Mumbai, between 1896 and 1908. You'd need more fingers than a mutant octopus. The response was a mixed bag of tricks. Quarantine here, isolation there, and a dash of rodent control for good measure. It's like trying to fight a wildfire with a squirt gun. But fear not, the cavalry arrived in the form of antibiotics in the mid-20th century, finally bringing this unwanted world tour to a close. Yet, the third plague pandemic left behind a legacy like a bad house guest, reminding us that when it comes to global health, we're all in this together, whether we like it or not. The plague of Justinian, aka the ultimate party pooper of the 6th century, crashed onto the scene in the Byzantine Empire during Emperor Justinian I's reign. Talk about bad timing. Caused by the notorious Yersinia pestis, also known for its hit performance in the Black Death, this plague spread like wildfire through the eastern Mediterranean, giving Constantinople a taste of its infectious charm. Lasting from 541 to 750 AD, with encores for over 2 centuries, this plague was the pandemic gift that kept on giving. It's like Yersinia pestis never got the memo to RSVP, no. Estimates suggest it knocked off more people than a series of unfortunate accidents in a slapstick comedy, with casualties reaching tens of millions. This plague wasn't just socially awkward, it was economically disastrous, causing labor shortages, agricultural oopsies, and trade troubles that even the best Byzantine accountants couldn't balance. And let's not forget the political drama it stirred up, weakening the Byzantine Empire like a power nap during a marathon. The plague of Justinian, reshaping societies, influencing history, and reminding us that sometimes the party just gets too wild for its own good. The Antonine Plague, when the Roman Empire got hit with a case of the sniffles that turned into a full-blown pandemic party. Emperor Marcus Aurelius was probably wishing he had invested in some hand sanitizer instead of conquering more lands. Was it smallpox? Measles? Who knows? It's like playing a game of ancient medical clue. The symptoms were so gruesome, you'd think they were auditioning for a role in a horror movie. Fever, diarrhea, vomiting, and skin lesions. Sounds like a recipe for disaster, doesn't it? This pandemic didn't just hit the empire, it knocked it down like a gladiator facing off against a lion. Population decline, economic chaos, and social instability became the new normal faster than you can say bread and circuses. Estimates suggest that the Antonine Plague wiped out more people than a hungry lion in the Colosseum, up to a quarter or even a third of the empire's population, with some regions taking an even bigger hit. Talk about a toga party gone wrong. And as if that wasn't enough, the plague also decided to mess with the empire's military and political game. The Antonine Plague, a reminder that even mighty empires aren't immune to a case of the sniffles now and then. The COVID-19 pandemic, the unexpected plot twist of the 21st century that left us all feeling like we're living in a badly written disaster movie. I mean, seriously, who invited SARS-CoV-2 to the party? This virus has spread faster than gossip at a family reunion, infecting over 400 million people worldwide, and leaving a trail of hand sanitizer and face masks in its wake. It's like the world suddenly decided to play a giant game of tag, except nobody wants to be in it. Lockdowns, travel restrictions, and mask mandates became the new fashion trends, making social distancing the ultimate status symbol. And let's not forget the economic rollercoaster ride. Job losses, economic downturns, and mental health challenges hit us harder than a bad punchline. But hey, at least we're all in this together, right? Well, unless you're part of a marginalized community, because, let's face it, they've been dealt a pretty lousy hand in this whole debacle. But fear not, science to the rescue. We've whipped up vaccines faster than you can say pandemic, offering a glimmer of hope in this sea of uncertainty. Sure, there have been a few bumps in the road, vaccine distribution inequities, and new variants popping up like unwanted guests at a house party. But hey, nobody said saving the world would be easy, right? So here's to hoping we can all get back to normal soon. Whatever normal means anymore.